I feel like I've done so much already. I'm over this one, aren't I? I'm just thrown because my laptop was playing up mid broadcast there. But welcome. My name is Chris Dawes from Visual PR, and delighted that we're going to carry on these various broadcasts through the day at the Self Build and Renovation live show here. It's Friday, October the 11th, 2024, day 1 of 2. So if you're not planning to come along today, make sure you do tomorrow. There's still time to get here today, so make sure you do. What we're doing is 3 of these live panel discussions. The boxing gloves are in the corner. It's fine. It's not a problem. But we've got 3 experts on 3 different things from their own companies, and we're going to open up conversations. So let me introduce the panel that we have here. And I'm going to just start the nearest to me so I keep myself out of trouble because I'm not doing anything else. We got Paul Wood from Nu-Heat. Morning, Paul.
Yeah, as you say, Paul Wood from Nu-Heat. We specialise in warm water underfloor heating and air source with ground source heat pumps. We've been doing this on a bespoke basis for the last 32 years. Personally, been at the company for the last nearly 19 years.
Wow.
So I'd like to think I've picked a little bit up along the way.
I would say that's fair. Next up, we've got Jenny Chandella from AC Architects.
Yes, I am Jenny Chandella from AC Architects. As you said, we specialize in helping self-builders realize their dream of a low-energy home. So we work almost exclusively with self-builders, and it is all sort of fabric first all the way through passive house design principles that we're focusing on. So every design is unique, but every design is low energy.
I like it, and we'll be with you for the Rome a little bit later for your virtual reality as well. I'm looking forward to that. Last but by absolutely no means least, it's Mike Shufflebotham.
Yes, I'm Mike. I'm the sales manager at 21 Degrees, previously called Green Building Store. People know that. We've been promoting Passive House since 2008, and we've developed a range of FSC timber windows and doors, mechanical ventilation heat recovery. We promote air tightness tapes, but we do the design and detail of all these as well.
Okay.
And we've now progressed on that. Not every building we work on is a passive house, but we use the principles of comfort and indoor air quality. It's everything we get involved in. And we try and encourage people to think about their comfort and indoor air quality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get that. We did chat about that sort of angle in episode 3, where we had total home environment, and it was like that you either have it fully sealed or you then have the ventilation, and it just feels like a seesaw of which way you want to go.
It's a whole house approach, and Passive House does that, but nobody can do Passive House, but you still put some of the principles in.
Yes.
But it's the whole house, not just bits of it.
Presumably, and again, apologies if I ask stupid questions, I'm not the expert you guys are, but presumably that's more for new builds rather than renovations, because that must be quite hard to make a renovation.
Any renovation is difficult, but Passive House is benefit as the retrofit for Passive House. And my next appointment on our stand is just that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so it is doable. So
it
don't
is doable.
Discount it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's cool to know. Right, let's launch into questions that are. Don't shoot the messenger, by the way. I'm going to openly say I've been given these questions. Nick W can take the blame for this. Right, first question. I've got to break this down because it's quite long. How do you weigh up the impacts of using materials which are eco-friendly to produce? So materials that are eco-friendly to produce versus the operational energy efficiency over the life of that product. I'm going to start with, you shouldn't have looked so confuzzled because I'm now starting with you. No, but I guess let's break it down into simple terms of, what's eco-friendly to produce versus the energy efficiency. How do you balance that up?
It's a difficult one. I mean, we've always recommended with any customer that they need to take the fabric first approach. It's our products are great products, but they're designed to work in much lower conditions, lower temperatures than conventional modern older properties.
Yes.
So it's got to be a fabric first approach for all of it, what we do.
Jenny, you've said that phrase already as well, the fabric first. Can you explain, just to make sure I understand exactly what you mean? What does fabric first mean?
Yeah, fabric first is a design principle, and it starts actually with really smart design decisions. What I always say is sort of architecture 101. Where are you going to get solar heat gain, but not too much of it? Where is your heat loss? Make sure you're positioning the house on the plot and considering these things. Put your plant room on your north side if you can, because that's actually generating a bit of heat. So it's going to shield you from that heat loss. So it starts with sort of, where your prevailing winds. It starts with laying out the house appropriately on the site. But then it goes further to say, let's think about the fabric of the house, the building system, the construction system. And that construction system needs to be thermally efficient. It needs to limit cold bridging. Cold bridging is, if you think about the insulation of your house being a warm, fuzzy blanket around the entire building, you don't want holes in your warm, fuzzy blanket. So traditional construction has a lot of junctions that result in cold bridging. And then finally, it's putting in things like the ventilation systems and having the appropriate window specification, because your windows are some of your weak points. And then because you've gotten all that right, you have a much lower requirement for overall heating load. So you can use things like underfloor heating, air source heat pumps, ground source heat pumps really, really efficiently. So it's that's sort of the starting point, and then that all leads into passive house design. And we always say, even if you're not going to go for a passive house standard or passive house certification, get your fabric right and strive for passive house air tightness, because at some point your return on investment for your insulation goes down, but that indoor air quality and indoor comfort goes way up when you strive for the passive house air tightness. We try and promote all the time. If you can only do two things, if you're on a little bit of budget, if you get your air tightness right down and then put mechanical ventilation recovery in, you'll get so many benefits of indoor air quality, reduced heating costs. So even if you got a single brick Victorian building, you can still make an improvement by air tightness and MHR alone.
But one thing that's confused me, and this is sort of like a personal observation by accident, someone I know had, and I'm pretty sure that it was linked this way, they had solar panels fitted onto the roof and the big box in the garage, and they're loving seeing the levels of everything. But the team that fitted it went and planed the bottom of one of the back doors, so there was more of a gap. What's that? I mean, I'm seeing chuckles, and I'm worried that they've been sort of taken in a wrong direction. Who do I aim that question at? Why would they do that?
I mean, one of the things that we say, and I'm sure Mike would agree with that, is that when you're designing a house, in particular, well, any house, but in particular, a low energy and a passive house, design, get all of your details worked out before you start building. So you don't get on site and say, oh, I forgot I had to drill this hole in the house. I needed to, because you need to have it well sealed, and you need to think about where services are coming in, where they're going out, so that that's already been designed into all of the systems.
And I think this is probably an unfair situation, because they're not suddenly, it's literally they already live in this house and they've suddenly got the ability to put solar panels on there. But the team that fitted it went, we need more of a gap there, and I'm like, hang on, that's weird. But and then you guys are going, no gaps, seal it up, which makes sense to me, because Paul, for example, you go and put your systems in and you got all this underfloor heating. It's no good if it's just disappearing straight out again.
No, absolutely. And what we do ourselves is room by room heat loss calculations. So we take it to the next level. A lot of our industry does whole house heat losses rather than room by room. And the shape of the room will make a massive impact on how that heating system will perform. So by doing the room by room heat loss calculations, plays straight into the passive house side of things. We want to make sure that it's actually designed bespoke to the property, rather than just a one size fits all.
Because I've heard quite often a floor by floor is quite a common thing to do different things on different floors.
We're literally room by room.
Yeah, we had that into the passive house, into PHP. We look at the room by room heat loss calculations on top of the passive house. Passive house tends to be the whole house. So we then look at individual heat loss calculations as well.
That makes sense. And I mean, Jenny, you were bringing up, about where it's put, and I've heard comments about suddenly, even using trees or bushes outside to shade certain windows or whatever. Because you've not got just the heating, there's the cooling could be important as well. And it's not always
It
just
needs to
about
be
the physical
deciduous
house.
trees, so you get leaves in summer,
Yes.
shade, and they fall in the winter, so you get solar gain, you can get through the winter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that you don't just go and think about the building itself. There can be an awful lot more to it. Okay. But I mean, I know the question that was posed to me was, the difference between materials that are eco-friendly to produce, whereas operational energy efficiency. I mean, are you even able to get into that kind of trade-off?
So it is individual by individual, what the client's motivations are for creating this house. So some people are going to be really motivated by the fact that their energy costs keep going up and up and up.
Yes.
There are other people who are going to be really motivated about their overall carbon footprint and what their individual impact is.
Yeah.
So it's a different approach for everyone. And I may have my personal opinions, but as someone who works with self-builders, it's our job to understand what their motivations are to help them create the best environment for them. Unfortunately, no single house is going to save the world. And people have different opinions about what it is that needs to be done to do that. So we're here to provide options. And natural materials are always going to be the ones that have the lower carbon footprint. So timber is a renewable resource. You have natural insulations you can use. Those tend to be less efficient in terms of their insulation values. So then your walls can get much thicker. And some of us don't have the options on the plots that we have.
So it's
have
not
really thick walls.
It's not an easy thing, is it? Then,
And there's a lot of sustainability, that actually longevity of a product is sustainable as well.
Right.
So we use a lot of stainless steel ducting with our MHR designs. You can argue stainless steel is not necessarily very sustainable, although it's quite recyclable. But when designed and put in the building, it can be there for the life of the building.
Yeah.
So there's that side of sustainability as well.
Which I guess in a lot of the self-builds and the renovations, people are thinking they're forever home, aren't they?
Right.
Yes.
So that longevity becomes an important issue.
Yeah.
I know that I've had the phrase, if someone ever turns around and says, when will I get the payback? It's like end of conversation. You can't do a straight equation like that.
How do you put a price on comfort and rail quality and healthy homes? How do you put a price on that?
It isn't that easy, is it?
And also with regards to heating, everybody's usage is different.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So how do you model that?
Yeah.
Something. If you walked into my house, my wife would have the heating around 15 degrees because she likes a cold atmosphere. Where myself, I would automatically put it much higher
Yeah.
because I like my shorts.
Yeah.
In the middle of winter.
He hasn't got any on now. You're all right.
So it's very difficult to model that. You can work on percentages and all the rest of it, but that's probably the best guide you've got.
Yeah. Okay. This question went a little bit further. How do you make decisions about whether it's more effective to reduce energy demand versus using more renewable energy? Are any of you in a position to address
Doesn't
that?
that go back to the fabric first
Fabric
approach?
first,
It's still the same thing.
Still, I think it's fabric
Yeah.
first.
Fine.
And if you reduce your overall load, you need less renewables.
Yeah.
Is the bottom line. So you'd always prefer to reduce your load, I would think.
But there's an argument, the cheapest energy you could ever get is that energy you don't use.
Of course. Yeah.
So fabric first.
Buy a jumper.
But put a jumper on. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but you can't say that. You've just admitted you're the one that still wants to be in the shorts in the winter. How can someone balance? And again, apologies if we've covered it. I'm reading this out as we go. Their personal design preferences with performance and long-term value. So how can someone emotionally balance that? Where, because I know we've already largely covered where they've got personal preferences, but they're also looking at performance or longevity. These must be difficult conversations that you all get involved in.
One thing that seems to solve it is the budget. It's quite
Really?
often to get the thermal performance that they want to achieve, but they want a certain look. The cost of doing that can make them think twice.
Okay.
It's quite simply to get to very good thermal performance, keep everything simple, is the easiest way to get there, both cost-wise and performance-wise.
Do most people start with utopia and then bring it down to reality? Does that happen a lot?
I think there are some people, but there are a lot of people who are really clued into
Really?
what
Yes.
the construction. The people who are self-builders are at events like today. They're at many of the other shows. They're reading in their spare time. They often come, spouting off a lot of information that it surprises me the level of detail that they know
Yeah.
about what goes into a low energy home.
But at the same time, I want to make this absolutely clear to anybody that may not be in that
Mm-hmm.
situation where they know, because there's a lot of other people that are suddenly going, do you know what? Housing market has gone up through the roof and they're not providing what I want.
Mhm.
And, we've done several episodes where going, actually, to go and self-build or renovate, I think the self-build in particular,
Mhm.
is a lot more doable than people realize.
Right.
Yes.
It is.
And so this is where a centre like this is absolutely priceless, because we're getting all of you people
Yeah.
here available with your technology, with your knowledge and all of those things. And shows like this particular one with 2 days of presentations. So even if you're a bit further back, they might not know how to get that budget, but you are able to guide them. And
Yeah, absolutely. And people can do a lot more in their self-build. There's the term self-build, and everyone thinks, "Well, I can't
I've
build
got
my
to,
own
yeah,
house."
exactly.
But actually, you don't. There's the range of the people who are out there every day doing the work, and the people who are delivering it as turnkey. Self-build is just terminology for sort of creating your own bespoke home,
Yeah.
whether someone else is building it, you're building it. But actually, most self-builders who come and say, "Oh, I can't do any of that." Well, there's a lot you can do actually, and that the project management is one. If you're not a hands-on person, you can probably do a lot of that oversight and programming,
Yeah.
and that's something that someone can really bring down the cost of
Yeah.
their project
Right.
if they're involved on an administrative level.
Yes.
So you can do it. It's possible, and there are a lot of people here to show. And I've talked to a few people even already this morning who have said, "Well, we did it once, but we think we can do it better, so we're going to do it again."
Yeah.
Doing these shows for nearly 18 years, it's amazing how many people come back to you and say, "Saw you 15 years ago. We did our first property and we're doing it again." So,
Yes.
And that makes sense, doesn't it? Because with anything, you live in it or you use something, you kind of go, "This is brilliant, but now I'm using it. What would be even better is," and so you go and do that again, and it makes sense. Interesting that you're then selling someone else your design, but that's for the one you're moving out of.
But a really high quality house.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Even if it was built with technology 20, 30 years ago, the self-built house is so much better quality
Yeah.
than the new housing that you're getting today.
No, agreed, absolutely. Right, another question that was thrown at me: how can homeowners future-proof their self-build or renovation projects in terms of technology, accessibility, and energy efficiency?
You're back to the same thing again.
It is, and it probably
You're back to fabric first again.
Yeah.
You're right back to the same place.
Which is, and this is just interesting where people are coming up with these questions from
Yeah.
different angles. And I guess it is still their priorities in their minds are changing, but it does still come back, which actually is quite encouraging, is that, hey, addressing it with this fabric first is always going to address all these questions that people have got.
Well, what you're looking at is designing better than building regs. Building regs are always going to change and improve. And if you look up north, if you look in Scotland, what they're doing with their
Yeah.
building regs, I mean, they're basically building regs is passive house equivalent. And what happens in Scotland trickles down to England. So keep one step ahead.
Yeah.
And build beyond what the building regs are saying. Because building regs, remember, they're the minimum.
Yes,
Do
yes.
you want to build to the minimum?
Yeah,
Or-
our definition of building regs is the worst performing building you're legally allowed to build.
Yeah. What can I get away with? Yeah, exactly.
maybe a mindset change needed.
Yeah, exactly.
Accessibility wise, that's I guess the not fabric one. Just think about everyone at some point is going to have some sort of injury. Put a bedroom or a convertible bedroom with a shower room downstairs, and that's probably
And I
like
think
the number one. A flexi space that can turn into.
Yeah.
And that
Good
is
point,
what
yeah.
they expanded onto, to be fair,
Yeah.
allowing
Yeah.
flexibility in design
Right.
so the homes can adapt to changing needs. And that kind of makes sense, I guess. The problem
Yeah.
is you never quite know what that future can be, but you can second guess a few things, I guess.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. Key thing then to wrap up with on this, because I know we could just carry on attacking for ages. Why should someone come and see you guys at the show? And I'm going to go one at a time. I'm going to go the opposite direction. Mike, what would someone gain from coming and chatting to you guys?
The key thing is we try and find out what they're trying to do, what's the driving force behind what they do, find out where they go, directing how we can help them. And I quite often then send them to Jenny,
Yeah.
them, because you can actually start at one point
Yeah.
and they on any of the stands, and they can actually guide you. Actually, what you talk about, part of what you need is go over there.
And that's a key thing that we've emphasized in
Yeah.
all the episodes is
Yeah.
that this is not a sales first environment where
No,
you're
it's
going to go, I'm not letting them go, I'm not letting
No.
them go. It's like,
No.
no, they're the people you want to speak to, etc.
Exactly. Yeah. Occasionally, although my managing ND maybe go mad at me for this, occasionally I'm talking about windows, and we're not the right company for them.
Right.
So I don't want to waste my time or their time. So if I go and take them to the stand, it's probably the right company for them.
So what questions would they have in their mind that would signal that they need to come and see you though?
If they want to build better than building regs, if they want a healthy indoor air quality and comfortable, that's what we're all about.
And that is 21 degrees, so glazing, double glazing, all of
And yeah, triple glazing,
triple, sorry, yeah.
windows and doors, mechanical ventilation recovery. We do air tightness tapes and products as well. And then we have consultancy built in. We have a little consultancy team within, so we can do PAPP, we can do heat loss calculations.
And growing later this year, I mean, we will
Yes,
certainly say
yes.
is that it's going to expand as well, the business. So keep your eyes out for that,
Yeah.
everybody. Jenny, same question, really.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just curious about the self-build process and you like what you've heard about Fabric First and low energy, we have a lot of experience with self-builders and putting together a package of drawings that is sufficient for a self-builder going out and designing a low energy house. So just come and have initial conversations. And even if it's just something you've maybe thought about, we have resources. We really pride ourselves on educating self-builders, whether you're our clients or not. We want you to be our clients, but I'm here to provide you with resources. And just like Mike said, there are going to be so many people you need to talk to along the journey. It's so fantastic to be at the NSBRC and say, oh, well, you need help in financing. Go talk to that person.
Yeah.
So, and tomorrow at 1:30, I've got a talk that just talks about low energy design principles. That's in the Build It Theater.
Yes, that's that way, isn't it?
Yes.
Mike, we did forget that you've
yes.
got, what is it?
It's a passive house discussion panel, 12:30 today,
today.
in the Building Theatre.
Perfect. So that's a sustainability theatre.
Sustainability Theatre.
Yeah,
All right.
you're in that one,
Okay.
apparently. That's what it says here.
Oh,
Anyway.
that'll do
You
me.
better double check.
I'll now go the right direction.
Paul, same to you.
Last but not least,
Yeah.
so 32 years of experience within the underfloor heating market. We've been supplying heat pumps since 2007. We're very lucky to be one of the very few companies that offer the combination of both air and ground and the combination of the underfloor heating. We've also got sort of nearly 70 different ways of installing underfloor heating. So no matter what the scenario of your build is, we'll design it bespoke to the property.
Yeah.
So, and advise you along the way. And, we'll answer questions like, floor finishings, how do we do this? What fabric of the building? And we'll work very, very closely with these guys along the way.
And presumably that can be both retrofit as well as
Absolutely.
from scratch.
Absolutely. The retrofit market is massive.
Yeah.
The majority of the housing stock in UK needs to be brought up to standard. And, with the changes in building regs a couple of years ago, then, lower flow temperatures means that underfloor heating is a really great way of achieving what we need. So it's it is. And it feels great as well. So it's
really
one of
is.
those. It frees up space. But as a company, we pride ourselves on service, and service is paramount to us much before our service. So it's, and I think if you were to speak to any of our customers, they'd agree with that.
Well, episode 2 in self build and renovation live, we with Mark Dudes and Tom McSherry, and they brought up the stat that this country, it's something like 10% of the market is self build, and yet Europe is up at like 40-odd%, I think it was, and it's just something's not quite right there. So hopefully, with this, you guys all coming together in a venue like this and events like this, is it enables us to consider that it is more viable an option. It's certainly a really cool. Honestly, you walk around some of these setups and the fake houses and all of that, and you're going, I want that. And the beauty with self-build is we'll have that then, because you're building it from scratch. So make sure that you come and see these people. There are experts throughout this venue. What have we got? 200 odd trades village stands that are here. Lots of shows, really, really cool. So thank you so much for coming and joining us. Mike, Jenny and Paul, absolute pleasure. Any more questions that you've got, go and see them. Simple as that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We'll be back at 11 o'clock for a roaming camera, which will include your stand again, Jenny, actually, apparently. And we'll be back at 12, I think it is, for the next panel, which is pitfalls, opportunities, and revelations. I better research that one because they've thrown all sorts at me at that one again. But we'll be back later for the roaming at 11 o'clock.